Welcome to the Unconventional Hotline. I'm Philip.
I'm Anya.
And I'm Emma.
And today we're gonna spill your identity.
Yeah, well, yes. Well, yes.
Okay, would you guys like to start by introducing yourself to our audience?
Okay.
All right, Anya.
Yeah, okay. So my name's Anya Marvel. I'm originally from Hertfordshire. I lived there all my life, but I've also split half that lifetime living in Gibraltar with my family. I'm half English and half Indian. That's my ethnic background for anyone wondering. And yeah, that's just a bit about me ethnically and fun. I'm also bisexual.
Hey.
If anyone wants to, like, no, joking.
Emma?
Me?
Yeah.
Okay. Hi, guys. I'm Emma. I am an international student from Nigeria. And I've kind of lived my life in a lot of countries. A lot of international schools, hence my accent, for anyone wondering. And yeah, now I'm here in London to study journalism.
Well,
Okay,
so am
lovely.
I. I'm also an international student all the way from Hong Kong.
Wow.
I've been here for, I think, 2 years now. And yeah, we're all doing journalism together.
Yay.
Love
That's why we're
it.
here. It's so cute.
Okay, do we want to start by talking about, the past week, what we've been up to?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Yeah, I can start by me.
Yeah.
So I just started my new job
Oh my gosh.
at a bar. I mean, it's like a bar/club, and it's a queer bar as well. And I'm bartending, but I've been finding a bit hard to make friends with my coworkers. A lot of them are a bit older than me, not really my demographic. I guess not our age. Also the things we do are very different, and I just don't know how to deal with it. Do you guys have the same experience?
I'd say in workplaces, it's a bit weird because I find that socializing with people our age anyway, it can be a bit difficult. I feel like everyone's stifled from COVID, or especially in London, everyone's so different. It's hard to kind of find people who are on the same wavelength as you, even if you are the same age. It can be really,
Yeah.
I don't know, uncomfortable to try and make friends sometimes, I think.
It's also
Yeah.
not to. I mean, this is the podcast to bring it up, but
Yeah.
let me bring this up. The place where I work, I would say a lot of a lot of my coworkers are white, and there's not a lot of real. Oh, that's not.
Oh, that's
not. Yeah, but not even that, because also our customers are very. Actually, that's not true. I'll take that back, but I think it's more about the working environment. But I think they're all very nice. I think it's just the experience. We have such different experiences that I don't know how to bring it up or start a conversation.
Level with them, get on their level, interact with them, because it's there's so many nuances to it.
Yeah, exactly.
Do you ever try to strike up conversations with them? Or
I do.
Small talk?
I think it's also a working environment. That's why I also always at the moment I'm always working on the weekends, so it's the busiest time.
Right.
No, right. Working in
Yeah.
London on the weekends is mental, and you just, it's just actually hard to deal with. That's a whole other conversation in itself. It's
It's this year I started with whose stomach was that?
whose was that? Was it yours? I thought that was yours.
You can learn more about logging your health data with Siri.
Siri just popped off.
Yeah, exactly.
What?
My phone just went off.
No, but I was talking about this year I started with jobless, no job. I was working the whole year last year. I mean, living in London, everything's so expensive.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to cope with it.
International student vibes.
Exactly. We already have to pay double the tuition
literally.
fee. The accommodation
Oh
is
my
so
God.
expensive.
Yeah,
as well.
accommodation, tuition.
What is that
everything.
like though? Because obviously I don't know. I'm literally from the UK, so
Yeah.
either way, I get paid for like government tuition. How do you guys cope with that? Like, is it something that you have to pay for out of pocket? How do you finance that?
So my parents like fund my education and also like my accommodation fees. But yeah, it's like getting a job. I definitely understand, like as an international student, like being able to make your own money, especially in an expensive city, like it's definitely necessary and like understandable.
Because there's a lot of stuff to do in London, but you just need the money to do it.
Yeah.
And if you don't work, I mean, it's probably okay if I don't work and I just like stay at home all the time. But I feel like, you know, this is the age where we go out and explore and like, you know, figure out who we are.
Yeah, this is the age where we're supposed to be popping on pussies on the street. Do you know what I mean?
Exactly.
I just feel like, I feel like I expected so much more from London in that sense. Like, I feel like I expected so much more socially, and it's just really lacked in that department. I don't know, for me, but in particular, I know for a lot of people, everyone's had different experiences, but I just thought it would be very different because there's so many connotations around London, like, oh my god, you're gonna have so much fun, you're gonna like go out all the time. And in first year I made like a small handful of friends and I just stuck to that because it was so scary. And also like, I don't know, I just found myself not fitting into the groups that I expected myself to fit into. Like, for context, I'm from like a very like white area. Like, I was always considered like very much the brown person, like the token brown girl in every situation. Then I came to London and suddenly like everyone's perceiving me differently, and like a white person, or like even, I don't know, just as different races. And you don't necessarily need to fit in with people of your race, and I've never fit in with people of my race, but like it was just so unexpected. Even like talking to different people, like you just don't find yourself in the groups that you expect to be in, if you know what I mean. I actually found myself making friends with more white people than I expected.
I think it's like really interesting in like your case because you're a biracial person, right? Like, I think one question I've always had like about biracial people is like, do you like when people categorize you in like one race, or would you like actually like being biracial to be like a race of its own, you know?
I think personally for me, it's been like a journey. Like for me, it is very much like I am biracial. Like I am both white and Indian. Like it's not separated. But when you're in like societies like back home, everyone was white. So it was like you could tell that I wasn't. Because obviously like I'm not white, but I'm also not brown. It's like very like nuanced. But so because I was that other, I've always experienced what it's like to be a person of colour. But then coming here, people assume I actually experience like a lot of white privilege here sometimes, especially in like work settings. Like people like not know that I'm of colour, like depending, it's all based on how people perceive me. So like they're gonna treat me how they like perceive how I am. Do you know what I mean? I don't know if that makes sense very much, but like very much I feel like I'm both.
Yeah,
Wow.
I get that. I mean, I don't get that, but I get
like,
what you mean.
Yeah, like it depends. I don't know, like with you, maybe feel like you might be able to relate on like being like queer, like how people perceive you. Like at the start of the year, I don't know. I didn't know whether you'd be like, I hadn't spoken to you, so I was like, oh, is he gay or is he not? Like, do you know what I mean? And people will treat you as such. They'll treat you as they assume how you are. Like, do you know what I mean?
Like coming in, because I'm from Hong Kong, I think not a lot of people talk about like being queer in Hong Kong. Like there's not a lot. There's literally none. Like no one talk about it. So I like feel I like growing up, I just never really show it. Because I mean, that's actually a lie. I was very effeminate.
Yeah, I look at your face and I'm like,
No, I'm always in denial. Like every time like my friends ask me, I'm like, no, I'm just like cute.
I'm just like girly pop.
Exactly.
What do you mean? I'm not gay.
No, and that's why like coming here, even though I know I've seen all the like TV shows, I've listened to like multiple podcasts of people like talking about London and how like I guess queer the city is.
Yeah.
But I just couldn't bear myself to like, oh, like let me just go out here, rainbow makeup on, like all of that. Like I'm just not that like. You're not that.
That's not you. That's like a very much personality thing, and I think your personality. Yeah, you're gay, but it doesn't have to be like so overt and like what people expect you to be. Do you know what I mean?
No, that's the thing though, because I feel like I am like kind of, I do really like feminine stuff.
Yeah.
But I just never find myself to show it because in my head there's always people judging me because like back in like
Okay, so it's like a
home,
cultural background
and,
thing.
and I know that people really don't care about it here, but I don't know why, I just can't really push myself out of the boundary.
Yeah, I think it's like an unlearning thing. Like, we're all very young, so it's like I'm unlearning how to like, do you know what I mean? Like, do you know what I mean? I don't know. You have to learn how to like reaffirm yourself in the like how you want to be perceived and how you're like going to be perceived, because a lot of the time people are like, oh, you're worried too much about how people view you, but you have to be worried. Like, that's how people treat you, that's how you're going to be treated in society, do you know what I mean? And that's a very important thing, especially when you're a person of colour or like queer, because if you look queer, people know you're queer, do you know what I mean? Like, I always have this debate with people, like, especially when I was friends with white gay people when I was younger, they'd be like, oh, it's on the same level, like racial things and also being gay, but it's not, because you can, like, I hate to say it, but and it might be controversial, but you can like tone down how you behave, and you can behave less gay or whatever like that, but you can't tone down your race in a way, do you know what I mean? You are that, and that is how you are. Well, yes. That is how you look to people, and people treat you as such. If you look a certain way, people are going to treat you as that, whether you want it or not. And that's like something sometimes we can't choose, unfortunately.
That's why like I've been like trying to push myself. That's why I work in the place I work in now, because I'm surrounded by all these people that low key in my mind I'm like, I want to be like you guys, but I just don't know like how to start and all of that. And that's why like I also find the struggle to like talk to them, because I also have this like thing that I feel like, oh, they're gonna judge me for some reason, or, like,
oh no, like the whole baby gay thing.
Yeah, like a little bit like that.
Yeah, I see. Like, I don't see that, but like I see why you would be worried about that. Yeah, because I've met a lot of people here who have like been out for years, like had multiple partners, and I'm like, I'm so inexperienced in that department. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's just yeah.
Do you guys have any other updates that we can talk about?
My life is kind of boring right now.
But I remember you were talking about how you were struggling with like friendships and stuff.
Yeah, so I mean, I think I've always just kind of been like an introverted, like quite a shy person, but like now I think I'm really like coming out of my shell and like being more social and stuff like that. Yeah, I think because the thing is, like, back in high school I was in quite not the best friendship, and one of the things was I was like the only, well, not the only person of color. We actually had like a person from Hong Kong in the friend group.
Really?
Yeah, but I was like the only like black person in the group. And oh my gosh, I remember there was this like one experience where it was like so we were like on the bus and we were having a field trip, and then I don't know, we were just talking about like eye color, and one of like my friends was like saying, oh, you know, my eyes are blue and gray, and then the other one was like, oh, my eyes are blue but they turn green in the sun or something like that. And then they turned to me and they were like, oh, Emma, your eyes aren't special because they're just black.
That's so crazy.
Because I know you're laughing, but I had the same thing as well.
They're similar things.
Yeah.
It's always feeling unspecial. Oh my gosh.
So crazy.
It's just out of pocket, isn't it?
Yeah.
And it's like, it's those small things, it's those small microaggressions that you don't expect from your friends, because you get along on like a basis level, but then it goes deeper when like stuff like appearance gets mentioned, like when they're like, oh no, but your like hair is black, or like this is you, and it makes you feel unspecial and it makes you feel unlikable. And it's like, in actual fact, I think they're very beautiful features about people who just aren't like the typical thing you'd see maybe like on TV, or like something somebody would aspire to be, like, you know,
representation.
Yeah.
I feel like, speaking of microaggression, I mean, first year when I was here, I think everything about London for me was very bright and colourful. I had like a really fun time here. But I think second year is where everything just like synced in.
Oh my goodness.
Have you had the same experience?
Like first year was mellow, but then second year was like, ugh.
It is like a trope though. They do say second year of university is always a bit more like, you're like, you've finally sunk in, you're like, oh my god, I am a freaking and I have to like
Oh,
do
yeah.
my work, especially because this is the first year for us, especially that our like work counts towards our degree.
Oh,
So
yeah.
that's scary.
Yeah.
But
No, 'cause
yeah, as
I
you were
was-
saying, Philip.
Yeah, I was gonna say like, second year is like when I've really seen like people being a bit weird about like my race and all of that. Because I remember this one time. It's actually like after we hang out at your place.
Oh, what? Okay.
Yeah, me and this friend, her name is Emma. Yes, the other Emma.
Emma too.
We're gonna talk about that story later. Anyways, but we went to a McDonald's. It was in King's Cross, and then we're waiting for our food. And I mean, me and her are very close, so we're just like cuddling each other, being like all cutesy. And then this guy like came in and started like talking to us. And then,
Wait, I'm so sorry. I'm assuming Emma's white, right? Or
Yes. Sorry, I need to mention that. So
Okay.
he was like, "Oh yeah, I'm like from the north. Like, how you guys doing? Blah blah blah." And you know, my friend there, she's not really from the north, but she have family from the north. So she like, "Oh yeah, I'm like, our family's there as well." So they start talking, which is cute.
Yeah.
All of that. But then all of a sudden, this guy just started looking at me, and then he was like, "You can do better," to her. And
That's
I
crazy.
assume that he's talking about like we're potentially in the relationship
Yeah.
because we're hugging and stuff. And I was like, oh, that's not like
Like, oh,
literally.
honey, no.
That's not.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
So quiet. Oh, that's not. Yeah.
But I brush it off because you know little things. I have worse things that said to me before, so I was like, okay, fine. But then he kind of kept on going, and then he made this joke that I will always remember. He was like, "Oh, like can you imagine like him going to the north? Like it's like shooting a panda up a cannon."
What?
What?
Shooting a panda up a cannon.
I don't even get
What
that
do you
joke.
mean?
Yeah. First of all, what does that mean?
Yeah,
No,
what
but
does that
referring
mean?
to
But
you
it's
as
like
that is just a
Referring
bit
to me as a panda because I
Yeah.
guess like panda is very common.
Asia. Do you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like it's a bit of a stereotype in itself. Like people just look at you and they make the most bold statements.
Yeah, and he was like, "You like, oh, this little boy can't survive one day," and I was like,
Okay,
Oh
okay,
my
sir.
gosh.
Do you know like we're not in the north, so it's a good thing that we're not
Yeah.
there and you're here. So
Wow.
go back, go back. I love this
No.
statement. This is my favorite thing that I've been told before. Go back to your part of the country, sir. Like get out of here. Do you know what I mean?
but I think people just need to do better.
Yeah.
To be fair, I feel like that guy don't mean any like malicious intention. But
No, but that's what it's like in the UK. I feel like people think
Very
that,
polite.
Yeah, like it's
Polite
Yeah,
racism.
They're-
polite racism, literally.
Yeah.
It is. It's microaggressive. It's not overt. Like I think you hear in America about like these shootings and like police brutality and stuff like that. But in the UK, it's so undermined it. Like
Yeah.
it's like they'll look at you. I don't know. From my experiences, I'd be looked at in school and they'll go, "No, but you should straighten your hair because it's neater," and stuff like that. It's always microaggressive and it's always in like the best intention, but they don't realize that it's actually a very damaging statement. Do you know what I mean?
yeah,
That's how it's like in the UK. I think.
Yeah. I don't even think it's just like a UK thing. I think it's just like a general like European thing. Like just
Yeah.
like
Oh,
yeah,
Euro-
you
yeah.
know, like I feel like,
Europeans, yeah, they're very curious. I will say, like, I was talking to a black person the other day about this. He was like, when I went to Italy, it was very much like people would just stare out of curiosity and they'd make assumptions. They were like, oh yeah, they all thought I was a football player or a basketball player, or like I must have multiple wives and stuff like that. And I was like confused as to why he was bringing it up, but it's so true because it's like they're just curious, and so it makes it kind of scary sometimes because you don't know how they're going to react. Is it out of fear? Is it out of curiosity? Is it out of like, do you know what I mean? Like, I think
yeah.
sometimes it can be very genuine, but like also sometimes you need to regard your own safety a bit more, like, and like worry a bit sometimes, especially for you, Philip. You're only a small little dude.
oh
Do you know what I
yeah.
mean? Well, yeah.
No, not to break up like our uni and uni work, but I think like it's actually quite similar to what we're learning right now about like just like media theory and society.
Yeah.
I'm writing my essay about the like stereotypes from
Yeah.
like media, people like consuming it, and I think a lot of times they watch like TV shows, they listen to some kind of music, and it's like from that they got that stereotype. That's why like, oh, that's all they seen of like people on the media, so they assume that you're like that kind of person or like whatever.
Yeah.
Because I think like I guess in my case back in Hong Kong, a lot of people, especially like adults in Hong Kong, they assume like a certain way of like Pakistanians that's like living. Is it
Pakistanis.
Pakistanis, sorry. Pakistanis like living in Hong Kong. Like
Oh yeah, that is a whole thing.
because there is a lot of
Yeah.
like them living here, but they have this assumption of like, oh, they're always just not serious, or like just a bad image of them, and
Yeah.
I know that it's not true.
Yeah.
But I think it's a lot of times it's also from the media and also like the TV shows that they have.
It's what they learn, especially it must be different in a different country to learn about different races. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's not like it's not, I don't know, it's a bit different to how like it is in
'Cause
Britain.
you know what's crazy? Back home, this one TV show is like primetime TV show. It plays on like 8 o'clock in like the big channel, right? And this is like a sitcom show, and they're talking about they're using like one meme as like a stake, and then have you guys seen the like the what's that called? They're like holding the dead
What is-
people.
Wait, what?
Oh.
They're not holding the dead people.
Oh,
they're-
wait. Is it like those guys?
They're
They're dancing around
yes, yes,
around the coffin.
the coffin.
Oh,
Yes,
wait,
the
no, wait,
coffin.
what? Yeah, no, I've seen that. Yeah.
So they're trying to imitate that for some reason, which is fine, like meme, dance, whatever.
Yeah.
But then they did blackface,
No.
and that was not long ago as well.
How
and
long ago was that?
Like, I think like 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that was like very recent.
Do you know what? It's still common in the UK, I will say as well.
Really?
I will say.
In the
'cause-
Netherlands.
Yeah, no, literally. And a few years ago, like my mum is tied in with community theatre and stuff like that. And they did a show, and it was like every person at that theatre is actually quite problematic in my area, but they're all white people, and they decided to do shows like Sister Act, and it was all white people, and they were like justifying it. But then they also decided to do. Literally. So they were doing a show, and all of these young people, they were like very young. Like, I will say you should know better if you're around the age of 20. I know better, so you should know better. But this was probably around 2016, and I just remember they were all doing blackface, and they were all painting the inside of their palms black and stuff like that. And I was like, guys, you know, melanin doesn't like kind of
Yeah.
develop that. And it was quite interesting to just watch, and I was like, wow, do you know, you read about this in like the media, you see that it was done like, I don't know, 50 years ago, but you don't expect people to still do it now and be like so uneducated on topics like that. Do you know what I mean? And it was like, I think pre-COVID was a bit different, because after COVID it was like BLM and Asia, like stop Asian hate, and it was really important topics being brought up. I remember being so passionate about it.
Yeah.
But I feel like pre-COVID, like, it was a different time. Like, people weren't as knowledgeable about race, and they didn't really regard to like learn about it in a way. Do you know what I mean? Like, it was all still so underhanded and so unspoken about, and like taboo in a way. Like, nobody wanted to bring it up. Like, my white grandparents still had those like little, you know, those dolls.
Oh yeah.
Oh, the black dolls.
Yeah, the black dolls. I can't remember what they're called.
Yeah,
but they
I
still
know.
had them in their house and stuff like that. And it was like, after COVID, everyone was like, do you know what? Let's switch up. Let's actually start being offensive. And it was like quite interesting to watch. I don't know. That was a very formative time for me in my mind. And I just remember like that kind of switch, and everyone started talking about it. And it was really interesting, because it was like not just me, like in my circle and stuff like that.
I think it's also social media. Like everyone, I know like lockdown and the pandemic, like, you know, changed a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
But I generally think like it's quite good. It might be
It was-
controversial.
No,
controversial
I think it was
lot.
a good thing. It was like, it gave a lot of time for introspection. I think a lot of people need that.
Yeah. I think like in my mind, like I matured a lot during that time. Even though like I haven't really been going out doing stuff, but just like, you know, you really get to reflect like who you are, where you are, you know, what you're doing with your life, all of that.
Especially at the age you were. Like, it
that
was
as
a
well.
really interesting age, like being like 15, 16,
Yeah.
and you're like, oh my god, right, I actually want to do something with my life. And you kind of figure it out. Like, I think it kind of forced us to really value what's important. And I don't know, that's what kind of got me into journalism in a way as well, because I was like seeing everything online, and I was like, I want to be a part of this, I want to make a difference in a way. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Social justice warrior moment.
No, but really though, I remember during that time, like I started watching a lot of channels. Like, do you guys know Hassan?
Hassan Minhaj?
Oh no!
I love him.
I love him too.
He is
Trevor
so
Noah as well.
Trevor Noah.
I love
Oh my
him.
god. How are they so attractive and also so funny?
So funny.
It's
You know
amazing.
Trevor Noah's 40.
Is he?
He's 40 years old. I'm like,
40 years old.
and he's looking so good.
He's looking so good. The other day I watched the Coachella thing, like Tyler the Creator brought out Childish Gambino. I was like, this man is old. I saw the grey hairs on his head and I was crying inside.
Wait, Childish Gambino?
Yeah.
I don't think he's that old.
He's 40.
He's not.
He is 40. I looked it up the other day. He's 40.
This is America, right?
Yeah.
Oh my
I love him so
Because
much.
he's also on like some show. What's that called? The
Community.
Community.
That
yeah.
was people forget that was so long ago.
Yeah,
he
that
was
is true.
he was such a campaigner though. Like these comedians were
Yeah.
amazing. Like in their prime, like Childish Gambino. I think is that his name? Or was that his stage?
No.
Donald Glover.
Donald Glover.
Yeah.
Yeah. He has done so much. Like all of these. I don't know. I really feel like these black queer like creators, singers like Tyler the Creator and Childish Gambino. They brought a lot to like the community. They made a lot of change and like even like on Vine and stuff like that. It was so.
Fine.
Do you know what I mean? They were all on there.
By the way,
I grew up on that shit.
do you guys know NLE? Is it NLE? I think that's
NLE.
Yeah, I think he's like a new kind of like upcoming artist, and then he have this viral meme of him like saying like, if I was a pet, I would have me too.
Really?
Yeah, have you guys seen that? Because I think that's also like quite interesting. Because I'm probably sure that he's straight, but like his lyrics is not very like toxic masculinity.
Like
And-
Breaking is like very effeminate characters, and it's like they're not afraid of being feminine in
Yeah.
a way, and it's quite refreshing, I think, because I don't know, there's like I don't know, my boyfriend's black and he's just like, he will refuse to like wear makeup and stuff like that, and do you know what I mean? Like it's a very like, being queer and of colour can be very controversial, do you know what I mean? Especially when you're like being perceived by your family, there's like religious things and stuff like that. So when you see these people in the media, I think it can be really important to see that, and like when I was younger it was very impactful for me, so I don't know
Yeah.
how that was for you guys if you experienced that.
Well, I think it's about time we go for our commercial break.
Already?
Well, yeah.
Oh, yes. Okay.
And we'll see you after the commercial break.
Well,
Bye-bye.
yes, bye. Hello.
Welcome back to the Unconventional Hotline podcast.
We're still your hosts. I'm Anya.
I'm Philip.
And I'm Emma.
What's up?
Oh,
Oh my gosh.
did we
What
hear
is
that? Did we all hear that?
What is that? Oh my goodness.
Let's pick up the phone.
Hiya, my name's Samala, and I am an international student from Hong Kong, and I currently live in Sydney. I am turning 20 this year, and I am a social worker student in my second year of uni in Sydney. So I am a queer person living in Sydney, and I'm an international student. So how it works is I didn't know I was gay until I moved to Sydney, and when I discovered that I like women, it was a mind-blowing experience when I had a crush on a girl from my grade in year 9, and from there it was history because I have explored everything in Sydney. And I think it's because I moved out of that little bubble in Hong Kong where it's mostly heterosexual, like heteronormative society, and in Sydney you get the broader way of seeing things, you know, and it's like, wow, yeah, stuff like that, you know. And in my days, which is in high school, I've had a lot of experience and experiments with a lot of different people, a lot of different girls from different age groups as well. Of course, older, not younger, that would be illegal. Anyways, but yeah. And I don't know. Think currently my life's pretty good. I have a girlfriend. That's pretty cool. She's white and she's South African, and we've been together for a year now. So yeah, that's pretty cool and pretty sick. And I think that fits into the intersectionality. No, I can't speak very well.
Wow.
All right. So
What up?
what do we think about Samala's story?
I think it's really interesting how she kind of left that environment of like Hong Kong, which she described as a bubble. I don't know if you agree.
Yeah, I'll say like, people in Hong Kong don't really talk about it.
Mm.
And I think from my experience, it's very, I mean, my experience is basically non-existent because like, I think I was like the only one, I mean, back in high school, I was the only one that's out.
Yeah.
Like at least to my friends, and like my whole year kind of know that, even my teacher.
Really?
Yeah.
How did they react to that?
My teachers.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, I guess it's like a policy that they can't really like react to.
yeah.
Okay, right.
So, but they're always very nice to me, and
Oh.
not gonna lie, I'm also like the best in the class.
Yeah, favoritism, whatever. Not all of us have that privilege.
Teacher's pet. We love
Yeah,
No, but I was actually like a
Yeah,
teacher's pet back in
no.
the days.
fair enough. No, I think it's interesting as well because it's like being in an interracial relationship is quite interesting as well.
Weren't you in an interracial relationship?
I am. I was waiting for you to ask me to go out with you. Okay, no. No, my boyfriend is. We're both biracial, so I'm half Indian and half white, and he is half white and half Jamaican. But he very much looks Jamaican. Like, I feel like sometimes I'm very white passing, like specifically when I like choose to appear that way. But he just always looks Jamaican. I don't know if that's a weird thing to say. I don't know. We haven't. When I was younger, like we were in school together. We've been together for quite a while. We were always kind of like put together because it's like. Did you ever find that you were put with like the people? I don't know. I grew up in a predominantly white school, so whenever there was another person of color, it'd be like, "Oh no, you're gonna date them." And then when we started dating, people were like, "Oh, you look like siblings."
Wait, they said that to you and your boyfriend?
They were like, "You look like siblings." I was like, "What do you mean we're both different races?" They were like, "No, but you look like you could be family." And I'm like, "What the hell do you mean by that?" So I just think it's interesting. It just goes to show that white people can't tell the difference. So you know.
No, 'cause about the bubble thing.
Yeah.
I mean, like the grouping thing.
Yeah.
Because I didn't experience it back in Hong Kong, but right here
Yeah.
in uni, there was this one time because I'm really close with one of my friends. His name is Mark, and he's Filipino. Well, like literally not close at all.
Yeah.
But sometimes we sit together, and one time there is this one. Let me not say like who they are, but like one person
Yeah.
that mistake us like, oh, they call me Mark. I was like, I don't look like him.
No,
you know, we
it's
have
so
different
real,
skin
though.
color. Like,
No, I feel
Yeah.
like people forget that there's so much differences and like even like from East Asia, you're very different. Like even
Yeah.
appearance wise, like you go everywhere, like everyone looks a bit different and just people don't expect that.
Emma, have you ever experienced like, I know you've moved like a lot of times. Like compared to the UK, is it very different there?
Well, so I've mostly like lived in Africa or like African countries. So, I mean, I won't lie. Everyone kind of looks like me,
Yeah.
you know, because like I didn't, you know, I grew up seeing myself on the billboards, you know, in the TV advertisements. But it was only once I moved to the Netherlands that I really began to see this shift, you know, and I was the only black person in the class for quite a while, you know, and so I did kind of feel singled out, even though it was like only occasionally, you know, I did kind of come to the realization that, okay, I'm different, you know.
Yeah. But I want to like kind of go back to, I'm sorry, like this is very random cut.
No, it's okay.
But I just want to go back to like dating, like interracial dating, because
Yeah.
I do have this one story that I want to share.
Okay, go. Go for real.
When I was in a relationship with like an Irish guy, I mean, not really like, okay, we're like talking.
situationship. It wasn't too deep. It wasn't in too deep. If I'm sure. Yeah, okay. I'll still talking.
What's that?
Okay.
No, but what I was trying to say is sometimes I think it's weird when, you know, it depends on, you know, person to person, but that person that I kind of dated, I can feel like at the end of the relationship, I realized like, oh, I might be fetishized. Because
really?
Yeah.
Why? What did they do? Was it like the way they... I don't know why.
It's when I realized, you know, their dating history and, you know, all of them are East Asians. Like literally
Well, and he
all
was
of
a
them.
white guy.
Yeah. So I was a bit like taken back by it.
There's
but
a pattern.
Yeah.
Somebody cooked here.
But it's the way when they, you know, kind of talk to me in Mandarin sometimes when, you know, my language is Cantonese. Not saying that I don't know Mandarin.
Yeah.
But
No, but it's that like generalization. Like he's clearly dated East Asian people before, maybe from like China,
Mainland.
whereas you're
Yeah.
from like Hong Kong, and he didn't really respect you enough to like see the difference, which is a bit ridiculous.
Yeah.
But
I think you raise an interesting point. Like, what do you guys feel? I know, like, in our culture, like, our generation, like, this topic of preferences is, like, really out there. I don't know. Like, what do you guys feel about preferences?
I have
Do you
something to
kinda-
say on this. I'm a bit, so as I've said time and time again, I grew up in a very white environment. I did have people like come up to me and be like, yeah, you're just like not my type, or like my type is like I would never like actually date you. Like I would like do things with you, but I wouldn't actually date you because I want to date a white girl. And I'd have people from my own race say this. Like I had like some Indian friends when I was younger, when my mum used to like meet me, like we'd meet her friends and their children, and they'd tell me, they'd be like, no, I want to go hang out with Emily, like we could be together, but like you're like too Indian for me right now. And
Becky
I'm like,
with the good hair.
yeah, no, real. And it's like, it was really conflicting because I'm like, but I'm also white, but I'm also Indian, but like I'm both. And it's like really interesting. And I've had literally white males say to me, yeah, I just wouldn't date black girls because I just don't think they're attractive. What kind of statement? First of all, why are you saying that to me? I'm like, okay.
Not you being like the blackest.
No, guys, yeah, no, genuinely. And it's just, I think it's crazy that they just make these bold statements, and it's like, but you don't even know these people. And also, how can you make that statement? Because my preference is, I don't have one. But yeah, but I just do think it's interesting. I think people will use it to discriminate at the end of the day. That's my point at the end of the day.
I mean, I feel like it's okay to like have a preference, but you can be like quiet about
Oh yeah,
it.
100%. You don't have to announce it to the world. Like,
Yeah,
oh,
or
I
you don't
didn't
have
want
to
it.
like take down another race while you're like
Exactly.
lifting up.
No, because I think personality is so like not associated to your race.
Yeah.
Like if you make it associated to your race, fair enough. You've clearly gone through some stuff, or that's how you want to present. But not everybody defines themselves as that. So I think it's unfair to predict how somebody is going to be in a relationship based on their race.
I would say like fetishization. Not that, you know, you have to be quiet or whatever. I mean, or like preferences. I mean, that's what I'm trying to say. But it's when you're talking about it, you know, when you're like quite obsessive with it, that's when it get weird. You know, you can have a preference, but when you're like, you know, assuming some stuff or like stereotyping some stuff, that's when it like, you know, that's it, you know.
It's like, yeah.
I'm also
Check
just
yourself.
like really confused why like a lot of preferences seem to be racial, because like you can have a preference for people with curly hair, because curly hair doesn't have a race, or you can like have a preference for some people who like play basketball or people who read books. Like why is it always
know
like a mixed race preference?
Do you know
or
what I think
this
it is?
racial
Genuinely,
kind of
I
preference?
think it is fetishization at the end of the day, but I think it is the porn industry. I will blame it. I will die on this hill.
Oh, wow.
Because if you look at it genuinely, like I studied this for sociology, you look at it and people are categorized, and oftentimes you will put people in that category, and it is often like I've not really had as many comments from women about, oh, my preference is this, other than like maybe tall and dark and handsome. Do you know what I mean? Tall and dark and handsome. No, but that's like the average thing that I hear from people. But with women, I think are categorized far more. Like there's Latina, there's Black, there's Asian, there's East Asian, there's
Arab.
there's Arab, there's like the whole kind of situation. Do you know what I mean? There's so many, and I think there's so much more like that's where the preference comes from. It's not from like what people genuinely prefer, it's from what they want to see sexually in a way. Do you know what I mean? Like they objectify you in that way, and I just think it's gross. Like, I'm not gonna lie, I've had people tell me, oh my god, Mia Khalifa. I'm like, no babe,
that's not.
Oh, that's not. I'm like, oh no, so every brown girl with glasses you see is Mia Khalifa. I think even Mia Khalifa came out about how she was like fetishized in the industry and stuff like that, and how she was forced into doing it. So I think it's just really interesting that people are categorized this way and it has no actual tell on how they're going to be in a relationship. That's my 2 cents.
Yes. Oh,
Another
we got
caller.
another
Oh my
caller.
gosh. Who could that be?
Well, let's see.
One of the things that I found when I moved to London for university was that there's it's a really weird mix of having loads of different diverse groups of people, but also no way to really communicate with each other. I think at university, like, the societies and the clubs are a really good way of doing that, but my university didn't really have very many that weren't centered around religion or like geographical, like where you are in the world. So I didn't really have anywhere to go to experience those different kinds of groups. There was a lot of emphasis placed on like going clubbing, and like a lot of people around me were, doing drugs and stuff, and I don't really do that kind of thing. But I think it's really difficult to be taken seriously as somebody who is sober by choice, unless you're religious. I think I found it really difficult to like make friends because of that.
So, sobriety. Let's go. What do we think?
I mean, I know, Emma, you're sober, right?
Yeah, I'm sober.
Yeah. What's that like, being sober in London, and also like university as well?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, so I know that like moving to London, I know the whole nightlife and the pub life is like quite big. So I grew up in a household where like, my parents don't drink, and also like I'm part of a faith-based community, and I would say like that's where my friends are, so like I don't feel a pressure to drink, or I'm not really surrounded by alcohol. And yeah, I wouldn't really say there's like anything about being sober. It's just like, that's just like, part of my lifestyle. Like it's not really been a big deal.
I mean, about your community, are you talking about like the society that you're in? Like,
yeah.
How did you find that society?
So I like met the society during Freshers Fair, which is like where like first years can like, see different societies. And so I remember I was actually like, I haven't had the best experience with friends. So when I like met the society, they kind of like, they were very welcoming and they drew me in. And like I've been with the society for over a year now, and I've also just like been able to like grow deeper in my faith and just like, like just be like established with like friends of that community, and and it's been really nice.
Yeah, I will say, like, despite London having so many, like, I genuinely thought I'd come here and I'd be, like, drinking every weekend. And I think there's a lot of preconceived notions and stuff like that, but I think it's so nice that it's also a place where you can, like, just find people like you, and you can establish communities that way. Like, you wouldn't think that you'd find, like, a society for everything, but you really do. And I think it's really nice that people, especially younger people, are choosing to be sober, because there are so many, like, I've encountered like the amount of people, I think I'd say honestly 4 out of 5 people I know have like parents with issues with alcoholism or like anything like that. Like I know my family has their issues with it. So I think it's really nice that our generation is kind of like coming forward and like, I don't know, seeing the issues, like tackling it in a way, like a lot of people do.
I mean, going back to, our previous caller, she's your friend, right? Eve.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think she also mentioned about like the societies and how like not lack of diversity, because obviously there's like a lot of different races.
There's almost like an overwhelming amount of diversity.
Yeah,
it's
I
like
think finding your own niche is like kind of hard.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes you just really need to like push yourself to like try something new, go to some, because I know some society like for example, like my friend that was talking about, like Mark.
Yeah.
So he was in the Filipino society.
Yeah.
And I've heard like sometimes when they have like events or like nights, like there's actually people not Filipino like
Really?
joining the events.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but I think that's so good if you've got
Yeah.
a fascination for culture in any kind of way. I think
Yeah.
it's really important to like indulge in them. Like,
Yeah.
especially when you're, I don't know, people call London multicultural, and it definitely is, like, population wise, but like, I don't think much outside of English culture is very much explored. Do you know what I mean? I don't know.
Yeah. Should we move on to our next caller?
What next caller? Oh my god, somebody's calling.
Wow.
It's an iPhone. Well, let's see.
Hi, I'm Jackie. I'm from Stevenage. I go to university and I'm 20. I think making friends at university is hard. I think it's hard already because uni is actually quite a lonely place. Only people don't talk about that. Add in the fact that I'm a black woman, things just become so much harder. I remember in my first year when I was making friends, I'd always like really play into this almost character. And I think for a lot of people of colour, it's like this mask we wear, like this initial mask when we're meeting people, like we act a lot more friendly, we tend to be more interested, like we smile a lot more. And I've had comments about this from like friends I have now. They were like, oh, when I first met you, you were like really, really bubbly and stuff. And then I realised that you're actually like super chill. And I think it's because as time goes on, that kind of mask, we just wear it away. But to like initially make friends, we have to like amp up this person that we're not. And it's sad, but it's a reality that we kind of have to do. I mean, definitely for me as a black woman, I'm seen already as more unapproachable, right? So people often tell me I've got RBF and stuff like that. So I know that when making friends, I kind of have to be the first person to approach them, and I have to be the one to be like, oh, hi, my name's this, blah, 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 and, you know, and make this connection. I have to make myself likable, basically. And I think it's typical that people kind of stay in friendship groups where people look like them, unless they've had experience otherwise where they don't have to do that. Yeah, people tend to stay in friendship groups of people who are the same race as them. Like, when I was in secondary school, I was the only black girl, so I was constantly with different people of different races. So for me, it's never quite been like that, but I've definitely been noticing, like, the longer I'm at uni, that people tend to stay in race groups of their own. Like, there are definitely some outliers of different groups with diverse people. Like, for example, my own friendship group, like, we're a diverse group. But it's like, I tend to see that most people stick together in, like, groups of their race. Like, black people with black people, white people with white people, you know? And yeah, I do think everyone's very welcoming of different people, different race groups. I just think most of them have this like initial hesitation that they probably don't realise. But yeah, there's definitely a struggle in making friends when you're POC, when you're a black woman.
So what do you think about Jackie's story?
Wow. Well, I can definitely relate as a fellow black woman. Just like with her saying that she kind of felt like she had to put on a character, you know, just like being more friendly. Because I know one stereotype that is pegged for like a lot of black women is that just like the angry black woman stereotype, you know, and that like we're aggressive and we're, you know, I remember I even had like a friend back in high school who was like surprised because I wasn't sassy enough, right? You know,
It's such a bold statement.
you know, so
Yeah.
like we really like attach stereotypes to people, and you know, and like it's like unfortunately a part of a lot of people's experiences to just kind of like be friendly or kind of like defy that stereotype and just kind of like actively working their way like not to be associated with like these negative stereotypes that are attached to us.
I don't know, Anya, have you ever fight against like the stereotype that you like face?
I don't know. I think. What do you mean? Like, I don't know. I think definitely Yeah, for me, I think it depends on how people perceive me, like which stereotype they apply to me. Because, I don't know, growing up, I've been, like, perceived as many different races, and, like, that comes with its own, like, territory. Like, I've had, like, really drastic experiences with people thinking that I'm black and calling me the N-word, and, like, having very overt, like, not even, like, maybe even, like, violent experiences with people just, like, shouting in my face and stuff like that.
Wow.
Or... it genuinely depends on the day. Sometimes I'm perceived as a white person. I think sometimes I get by on a lot of white privilege. So I think even that in a sense is a stereotype when people, like, I was asked very recently, like, do you consider yourself white or brown? And I was like, both. And they were like, what? And I was like, but yeah, like, in it.
Intersectionality.
Intersectionality, babe. Like, I'm both. And then they'll come at me with all these comments. Like, even earlier, so, like, with the same guy, like, this is my manager from work. He was like, oh, yeah, I just have a preference for anyone who isn't a blonde white girl. And it's, like, to be painted with the same brush, there is, like, that basic white girl kind of thing. I've been painted with that. Like, it's just how you walk through life, I think. And it's, for me, I'm very lucky to say, like, it's whether I take that on or not. But I think a lot of people don't have the choice to, like, decide. Like, I'm very... Honestly, it's like the silver lining to being mixed race.
Yeah.
It depends on how people treat me. And unfortunately, that's bad sometimes. But unfortunately, a lot of people, like Jackie, maybe, like, don't get to choose how they're perceived on that day. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I can't really speak on it.
I mean, yeah, I think just, like, again, oh my gosh, I might have already, like, asked this, but, like, do you feel like it's time for, like, biracial people to kind of, like, be categorized as a race of their own rather than being, like, split as half-half?
Definitely, yeah. I think it's important to acknowledge that biracial people are both. Like, I am both white and I am both Indian, and I am, like, also, like, I'm an amalgamation of things, and I think everyone is, and I think everyone should regard that. Like, I didn't grow up very, like, homogenous. Nobody looked like me. If anything, the people who looked like me were, like, even, like, Spanish people looked more like me. Like, I grew up in Gibraltar, and so it's very, like, there are loads of Spanish people there. They all thought I was from there. So it's like, I think biracial people like, very much so, especially, I don't know, with colorism and stuff like that, people should really just regard it. I don't know really what to say.
Do you find that, like, hard to make friends because of that?
When I was younger, I definitely did. I really just did not feel like I could. I had Indian friends, I had white friends, and I never felt like I could fit in with either group. And actually, it's quite interesting. I found myself gravitating to just, like, anyone now. Like, especially, I don't know, I have a lot of East Asian friends, I have a lot of black friends, and if anything, I relate to them more because we can just speak objectively about race, whereas Indian people have a very specific perception, especially the people I know are very, like, stereotypical and traditional, and then the white people I know just have no clue. So I find it easier to connect with different races, actually, rather than just my own ethnicity.
Right.
No, for
And
me,
Philip, yeah.
like, I really enjoy being in, like, a very diverse friend group as well. I know Jackie was mentioning about, like, sometimes being grouped into, you know, friends with, you know, your race. And I've seen situations like that. And, you know, I have friends that's, you know, I guess their whole circle, like, their orbit is mostly just, like, Chinese people.
Yeah.
But I think the difference is sometimes they just can't, like, they don't want to, like, step out of their comfort zone because I guess, like, the culture is so different and, you know, everything is so different.
Yeah.
But I really like this, you know, having this conversation, making it, like, open and everyone can just...
Yeah, because I think there's similarities through it. Like, me and Jackie have very much related before on the fact that we were both, in our sixth form, we were both the only people of colour there. And we very much became friends off of that. Like, it was really valuable to have, like, similar experiences and have them be validated by another woman of colour. It was just I liked that. And I don't think I'd get that the same with people who I know, who are also, I don't know, do you know what I mean? I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, yes.
Well, I think it's also time for us to wrap this up. Should we shout out our Instagram? It's Unconventional Hotline. No space.
Unconventional hotline. Yeah.
Yeah.
No caps, no space.
Also YouTube.
Also YouTube, yes.
Yep.
Again, Unconventional hotline.
Mm-hmm.
And if you ever want to come join us on our hotline next week, go to our Instagram page and send us a voice note of
Yes.
yeah.
A DM.
We'll be announcing our topic on our Instagram this week for next week's podcast, and we will be able to take input from whoever wants to join. This is a space for everyone, hence the intersectionality topic.
Oh yes.
Even for Philip, who cannot stop saying "well, yes." Okay.
Okay.
Well, thanks,
We'll see you
guys.
next
Thanks
week.
for listening. Bye.